One's up.
you know, cranberries bog for a long time, a lot of it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the regularly stated meeting of the Yarmouth Conservation Commission. This is the Yarmouth Conservation Commission meeting for Thursday,
Recording in
November
progress.
21st, 2024. This is to formally advise that as required by general law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. The Yarmouth Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting at the date and time noted above. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided above. Again, this is the Yarmouth Conservation Commission meeting for Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Our first order of business is the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust for the Native Land Conservancy, Simpkins Bog, review of conservation restriction for 9.12 acre parcel on Route 6A. And this is, they're asking for a vote to send a letter of support to the Select Board.
Thank you very much. My name is Kat Garofoli. I am the Land Protection Specialist for the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts. I'm here on behalf of the Native Land Conservancy, and I have a representative here from the Yarmouth Conservation Trust as well. So this conservation restriction is the second phase of the protection for the bog area near Simpkins, and it's a 9.12 acre parcel that the Native Land Conservancy was gifted, and now we're wanting the Yarmouth Conservation Trust to hold that conservation restriction. The conservation restriction is pretty straightforward for a private CR. We're looking at protecting the water quality resources as part of the property, also for habitat protection, and also the Native Land Conservancy as an Indigenous conservation trust does look at this property as a culturally significant piece of land that they're wanting to protect the cultural resources around the Wampanoag history there, and looking forward to protecting the third phase in the subsequent year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have a couple of just information things. I'm curious, you talked about reduction in damages that the bog provides to the wetlands and so forth during storms and things. And I'm wondering if you have any idea if that actually reaches private lands around the edges? Are there savings from, or is that something beyond your scope of your?
I would say that that's probably a little bit beyond my scope. However, if you were to, go on the town's online GIS site and start clicking on the floodplain areas, you'll be able to see if there were any sort of areas that are privately owned that may benefit from having that bog protected.
I guess there are, 5 or 6 properties?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious of the maintenance costs over the years, and do you have and how much and how long and?
Sure. So the Native Land Conservancy really values its stewardship efforts and invests in that. They have 2 dedicated staff people that are on board to help care for their lands. They also utilize various groups of volunteers to help them. For them, a majority of this property is wetland, and so, not wanting to disturb that, but also trying to provide some sort of trail system, but recognizing that it has some limitations with its close proximity to the wetlands. So, for the Native Land Conservancy, speaking on behalf of them, they dedicate a lot of their resources to stewardship and making sure to care for the property.
So no current estimates?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks.
All right, anybody else? Nope. Brittany, anything?
No questions, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
If there's no further discussion, then would somebody like to make a motion to issue a letter of support to the Select Board?
I will.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with phase 3.
Yeah.
All right, next order of business or continued notice of intent for SE 83-2455, Acres of Pines Association Incorporated, 65 Lewis Bay Boulevard, proposed hand beach raking and seasonal sand fencing on a coastal beach and land subject to coastal storm flowage. This was continued only and solely for DEP comment. We have received the DEP number, SE 83-2455. There was no comment associated with that. Would somebody like to make a motion then to approve the project with special conditions, including the sand fence installment at September through April annually within 10 feet of the dune toe, and that we also include the standard raking conditions from the seaweed management policy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Give it to Paul.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Next order of business is another continued notice of intent for SE 83-2452, Alexander Nemanoff, 2 Buttercup Lane, proposed construction of a dock within land subject to coastal storm flowage, a coastal bank, salt marsh, and land under a water body. There is a continuance request from the applicant's consultant asking to continue to January 16th, 2025. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Might be time for a rubber band. All right, next order of business is under enforcement. The first item is Timothy and Mary Campbell, welcome, 73 Neptune Lane, an unpermitted hardscape in the buffer zone to a coastal bank, riverfront area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage in violation of a determination of application issued in 2021. Brittany.
So if you're here for that, you can come up to the table. So this is from a building permit application request. There was a DOA issued in 2021 to redevelop the back area, removing an existing deck, replacing it with a patio, and a spiral staircase instead of this long staircase. It's my understanding they want the long staircase now.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, yes. And so upon review of the building permit application for the stairway, I just pulled up the old permits, and they were supposed to put in a 5-foot vegetated buffer on the edge of the Parkers River and replace some trees that were proposed to be removed in the front yard, which haven't been completed yet. And so I have contacted them, and we've been emailing back and forth. And I think, so did you put in a new building permit request today to do something else in the yard, or you still want that stairway?
We don't, okay.
That
Can I-
application went in October 28th, it's still under review with Brad.
Okay, I got something pinged new this morning. Is there any other work proposed? Okay.
So I'll ask the coin toss. So, okay. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Mary Campbell, welcome, and my husband Tim, and we own 73 Neptune. Little background, we have lived in Yarmouth since 2001, but we purchased 73 Neptune a couple of years ago, and the house had been in severe need of love and tenderness, so we knew we were undertaking a huge project. And we had a contractor who we loved. He did fabulous work, but we knew that his vision of the house and our vision of the house maybe not be meshing so much, such as a spiral staircase in the backyard, which is, from what I can see, is not very safe, or, liability. If you're older, you're going around a spiral staircase, not a good thing. I kind of like a staircase with two, and we're going to go down to a landing and do all that bit. Okay, so he had done the permitting, and some of these conditions we didn't know about, which is okay, because we love our house, and we know, and we're here, and we want to make it all right. So with all of that said, and when we moved into the neighborhood, we met all our neighbors, and we see everyone on Neptune, Pockanocket, Tide Lane, Swordfish Lane, Kelp, and so we see everyone else's backyards. So I know that's not an excuse, but when you're looking at your neighbors and you're going to see that you're doing everything that they've done, that it's okay. So with that said, we had continued on. We didn't know about the plantings. We did in our backyard. Our backyard has not been landscaped at all. We've left it, believe me, in its natural condition, other than we made sure that in back of the bulkhead, there is the rock that is the same thing that my neighbors 3 houses up have, and our neighbor 1 house down has. We looked at their backyard, and we looked at our backyard, and then we looked up the river, and we just continued it on, so everybody is uniform. We didn't know we had to do the planting. We just thought we were keeping it in uniform with everybody else. We did put in a small temporary patio, my daughter and I, on the left-hand corner of the backyard. Absolutely. Unpermitted. It was temporary because the rest of the yard has construction going on it, and we just wanted someplace nice and clean to sit while all of this was going on. I will pop that up. I just don't want spiral staircases. I want a regular staircase coming down from an existing deck that's always been on the house. When we had originally, our contractor applied for the permits, we were informed by the town that we had to take off a lot of things that were on the house that were there when we purchased the house. There was a wraparound deck. We took it down. We were told to get rid of a shed. We took it down. All these things, a give and take with the town to make sure. But in actuality, if we do up the square footage of the zones or what have you, we're still, even with the staircase, and I don't plan on putting a huge patio there. That's not my plan. My plan was just a nice place to maybe have a picnic bench or something. There's an existing patio that came with the house, as whoever went to the property will see, that has always been there. We haven't touched it, but it doesn't, and it's where that spiral staircase is supposed to be, which again, we don't want it. We don't want the spiral staircase, and I'd rather just leave my backyard the way it is, how everybody else on Neptune has their backyard up to their bulkhead with the rock. And that's it. I don't understand on it so much. And the front yard with the trees, those weren't even our trees, those were our neighbor's trees. And they were on her septic system, and our septic is in the front yard as well. So when we were doing the construction on our property, we just put grass in, and the neighbor asked if the trees could come down, and we said sure, because they weren't ours, they were hers. So I don't know.
Okay, so, I mean, the reality is that you have a determination that asks for the planting up front. And I'm not quite sure, where is the tree planting requirement?
Those are in the front yard. There is a septic system over them, but there's space around the septic system for replacement trees to be planted.
But the trees weren't, the trees weren't ours, they were our neighbors. When we purchased the house, I do have a picture of her yard.
What year did you purchase the house?
We purchased it in 2020, December 2020.
So
Yeah, so the, whoa.
you were the ones who got the determination then? Where did I see this?
Yeah, so the determination is
You
from
received the
2021.
determination.
The- We never met with conservation, our contractor
Oops.
met. But I am the homeowner, so yes, so that's why we're here now, because we're responsible.
So you had the determination, and the determination was the one that said you had to put the
Yes.
5-foot planting bed at the bulkhead,
That's correct.
Correct.
which is always the way, I mean, so yes, you are right, there are many of the areas, or many of the homes in that area have the old stone there. That was something that was done by the commission probably in the late 80s into the early 90s, but then they started moving away from that because it wasn't providing the service that everybody thought it should.
Okay.
And that's why we've now moved over to the idea of putting buffer strips in. And the long and the short of it is that, you know, you applied for a determination of applicability that provided for the 5-foot planting,
Okay.
and that's what you need to put in. That's just the way it is.
So
Where was the tree? Did the tree in the front yard, where did that come into?
Yeah, so they're on the approved plan. Sorry, I'm going back and forth.
they're not,
They were on the side
I have
of
a
it.
picture, but they were our neighbor's trees. They weren't ours.
They were on her property.
They were on her property.
I mean, it's shown on the DOA that this area is vegetated, and trees to be removed in this area and area to be replanted.
I mean, the only thing we have in the front yard now is just grass, the existing flagpole.
We have that pine tree in the front. We're down in the
Oh,
front.
and there's a pine tree in the front of the yard, a small, but it's grass because our septic is right there and her septic is right there. We haven't even, there's not even a fence. There's no plantings.
Did you look at, do we have near map going back
Yeah,
before?
I didn't
Do
go
we
back
have-
far enough. I can't do it on this computer.
It was still vacant, it was still no trees back to 2016 or thereabouts?
I don't know my password, so I can't do it on this computer. I can look. I'm not so worried about the trees in the front.
Yeah, I
if we
really, to
can
be honest with
add
you, I
to the
really don't
buffer
care about
in
the trees in the
yeah.
front.
I was just pointing out discrepancies from the approved plan.
We just like the grass.
But yeah, in the backyard, definitely the unpermitted patio has to be removed, which is, so the enforcement order requires removal of the patio and
Again, that was
planting of
always-
the 5-foot buffer strip.
Yeah, we'll take it out.
And
That's-
so I think you need to provide a restoration planting plan. And since this patio, it's in the footprint of the staircase is in the footprint of an approved patio,
And
we
don't
can
want
add that on to the restoration plan.
I'm fine with that.
But we don't want, exactly, we don't plan on having,
The staircase, though, you want.
oh, we
So,
want a
yeah.
staircase, not a spiral.
So if you provide a planting plan showing the vegetation you'll be putting in
Can I ask
for
a
the
question?
buffer strip and the stairway, we can approve it
Does
on the
that buffer
plan.
strip take into consideration the 2 foot of stone?
No.
So
So it's 5 feet of plantings in addition to the
in
existing
addition to the
stone.
stone.
What if we put the plantings where the stone is? Take the stone out and put the plantings there?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where the stone
Okay.
is up,
Okay. Yeah, I think,
Replace the stone.
with,
can we replace the stone
with the
and have the
planting.
planting start,
That's what you wanted anyways, plantings instead of
the
stone.
planting
You
start
should be
from the
replacing the
bulkhead?
stone.
With
Yeah,
what?
you would take all the stone out, put your loam down, and then put your 5 foot from the
Yeah,
back of the
correct.
From the
bulkhead.
bulkhead?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
That's what it is.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
This is my brother-in-law, John.
Yeah, can you just come up and sit so you have
Yeah,
a microphone?
Who are you?
This is my brother-in-law, John Leahy.
My name's John Leahy. I've been trying to help them move forward with the house. You know, they mentioned they had a great contractor who did amazing work, but just not always their vision per se. I've been in building my whole life, very, very familiar with permitting processes and meetings. I think what I'd like to ask is, obviously the RDA was based on a site plan, and a plan provided by the contractor that shows quite a large patio, a spiral set of stairs, and your determination probably, I can't speak for you, is, you know, you put some impervious materials into the wetlands, and you want to increase maybe a 2-to-1, whatever it is your standard replication is. But I think what really has to happen here tonight is Mary has to ask that we come back with a new site plan and perhaps a new RDA application, because you folks have on your conservation site quite a few pictures, probably 35 pictures of the existing house before they started the work. And it shows about, I forget the number, 576 square feet of decks, patios, and stairs in the backyard. The new proposal would be, they put in about 84 square feet, which you can see on that aerial, just a landing out the back from the first floor kitchen down. It's about 12 feet wide with 3 steps. The proposal in the existing permit application, building permit application, is 84 square feet. There's a 14 by 14 patio behind the existing garage. Their vision would be just the new set of stairs coming down and to replace the existing 14 by 14 patio because it's pretty rough shape, you know, out of grade. And I don't see why we couldn't have a discussion about a more pervious material being used for that patio. But with that being said, they're coming to you with a reduction of almost 40% of coverage of decks, patios, and stairs. So I did a little rudimentary review of permits up and down Parkers River with anyone that had a bulkhead. And, you know, a lot of times when people put in a building permit and the conservation review seems to have some verbiage that says, no larger than the existing footprint, so we don't have a problem. It's less than the existing footprint, we don't have a problem. She's coming at almost 40% less. So I guess the question tonight is why 73 Neptune plantings on the bulkhead when you have photos on your website that show stone that's there with grass growing in it because the place was in disrepair for 10 years. There are 34 bulkheads along Parkers River, and none of them have plantings on them.
I think I already addressed that, but again, the point is that you had at the time of permitting, which is
Correct.
2021, you brought a determination of applicability, an RDA, before the commission. You proposed the planting where it was, and we said, okay, sounds good. And then you didn't do that.
Right, so my question is, and I don't know this, did the contractor propose those plantings, or was that part of a review for, you know, obviously the project as a whole, which would have included this huge patio, new hard surface patio?
It was part of the approved plan that was brought to the hearing process.
So that's why I went back to the first thing I said, is I think
I'm also
the
going
question
to,
would be is if we started, want to amend the plan, obviously, and downgrade the impact.
I think I'm going to interrupt you there also because this entire property is within the riverfront area and you're in the inner riparian zone. So if you had gone through the permitting process before you had installed this unpermitted patio and the extension to the driveway,
Extension to the driveway is not an extension to the driveway. If you look at your original photos, that's there also.
But it's not hardscape, it's just dirt.
No, it was
No, it's
always
stone.
Stone,
That was always.
And it's on your website if you want to dig into the,
Yeah, there was always stone.
It's not shown on this plan as stone and it's
Nope,
a certified
nope, I
plot
can't.
I
plan.
understand that, the existing conditions.
But it
And your photos
was,
are stone.
So I'm just saying that
No,
the
no, but I just
mitigation that would have been required for those is more than the 5-foot buffer. So the 5-foot buffer is required.
Okay, can I ask, Mr. Chairman, Ed, you spoke about a change in determinations of back of the bulkheads. What year did that go in?
There wasn't a change in regulation or anything else. It was just the way, you know, I've been on this board for 26 years, 27 years, something like that. So Am I going to remember? I don't remember the exact date, but I can tell you what the philosophy up through the 80s and the early 90s is that they would just allow a stone backing behind the bulkhead, and the commission slowly started realizing that is not. It's just not an appropriate means to protect the resource, and so. Over time and gradually, we have moved to the idea that you always plant the area behind the bulkhead, which is why that's what happened in 2021. I mean, 2021, we asked, you actually showed up with that and proposed the 5-foot area that you have on that site plan. And that's all we're doing. We're holding you to that.
And I think the area that's gravel right now is almost 4 feet. So the additional yard that you'll be losing to planting is very minimal for the 5-foot buffer.
Okay.
Can I just add that what we're asking you to do is better for your house than what you have now? Okay? I mean, stones don't work, and plantings do.
Okay.
And if other neighbors were coming to us to do something differently on their property, we would be telling them the same thing.
Okay.
But we can't go back and retroactively and say, you guys need to go and change your,
Sure.
what you are. So I think.
No, I understand that,
So I think you
absolutely.
need to understand that we're not doing anything
No,
as
I
punishment. We're doing things to help save the environment and your
Absolutely.
house.
And I'm not questioning that at all. I just wanted you to know that we weren't doing anything maliciously or we were just looking at our neighbors and thinking we were continuing onward. So ignorance on our part of being part of the neighborhood and just thinking that everything's okay. So that's what we're trying to just get it, but nothing was done. So, okay. So, and I just want, so 5 feet in, I remove the rock and I can do the approved plantings.
Yes, and so the terms of the enforcement order require a restoration planting plan be provided, and you'll include the area of the staircase in that. And that the plan is due January 1st or as soon as possible. If you can't meet that deadline, let us know, and planting's in by the end of May 2025.
Okay, so if I need extensions on those, only because by January to find somebody who's gonna,
Yes, I understand. You'll just let us know that you can't meet the deadline, and as long as
is
you're,
that just an informal notice? Is that an email to you?
you can email me, yes, and as long as you can let me know if you've contracted with someone that they're working on it, that's fine.
Okay, so that takes care of the 5 foot in. The patio, so to demolish it, I think you had a date of like January something in it. It's cold back there, and can I have until the spring? Do we need to do that right? Like when they do the backyard, can it be all
Really
at the
don't
same
care.
time?
I mean, I really don't care if you do need to take it out and
No,
within a
we have no
reasonable,
plan. It was always meant to be temporary.
within a reasonable time. So if you do
It's
it by the end, I mean, even if you go to the end of middle of, let's say middle of April,
Okay, all right. No,
okay?
I'm just looking for doable dates here because I have no issue with that whatsoever. Again, it was always meant to be temporary, so it's not a problem.
All right, so I'll revise the dates for the plan to be due February 1st and the patio out by April 15th, but the
Okay.
planting will remain completed by May
Maybe
31st.
informal, very informal comment that you didn't care about the front yard trees.
Yeah,
That's something that could be made formal.
I just put the draft.
You know, that wasn't something
I'm
that.
just I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, personally, I don't have an issue with what's in the front yard. I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in on it or not.
Beyond the 50?
It's beyond the 50
It's
within
beyond
the
the
inner
50.
right area.
Leave it.
It's not specifically mentioned in the enforcement order, so
Whole
it
lot
wouldn't.
falls within, you know, protected land, so there isn't a
Yeah,
square
it's
inch
just
that isn't.
grass.
Yeah,
And,
So, Mary will have to provide a planting proposal for you folks to review and approve.
that's correct.
So just
And
go to
you have a
Brittany.
link where she can look at approved native.
I can send you the list. It's on our
Yeah,
website.
It's on the website, but, okay.
But but it'll just go to Brittany. It's, it doesn't come back before us as a formal hearing.
Because there's spacing and everything on the suggested lists to show you
Yes, I saw that.
how many plants you
I saw
need.
that, and no mulching. Unless, of
No
course, it's by
mulch.
the,
No mulch. Why no mulch? I'm just wondering,
Mulch is not good.
why's that?
Well, usually our plantings are directly adjacent.
And it doesn't allow for things to grow then. I mean, the idea is you want to try and make it natural.
Okay.
So, and you're just looking for a sketch plan, right? You don't need so it's just a sketch plan,
yeah, a
literally a
sketch
sketch plan.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be engineered, it doesn't have to be stamped or anything else, okay? Just a standard, use an aerial photo, use anything like that, whatever you want to do for that.
okay.
Okay?
Basic,
Paul?
right?
Yeah, could you just review the issue of the tree or trees in the front? Because I was missing some of that. It was in the plan, but now, just explain that again. I'm sure it's fine, but,
There were some 60 and 70-foot mature trees hanging over the house that were from the neighbor's yard,
yeah.
but they were in the front.
Thank you. I was asking Brittany, though, to explain it.
Yeah, they're in the approved plan from the determination included terms that they would replace trees that they had removed from the front yard, and they hadn't completed that. But if they're installing the buffer, do we want to require any trees on the side?
Well, there was that issue, though, that was hard to kind of understand about trees were removed from the neighbor's property. So would that be something that should be addressed with that particular neighbor?
I would have to look into the aerials because I didn't really see that when I was looking into it originally, but I can investigate further.
So technically, was there a violation having to do with those trees?
I don't have enough information right now to know
Okay,
that.
all
I
right.
don't think we know at this point.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So the trees will be on hold for further review.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean,
So it wouldn't be included in the enforcement order right now.
Okay, anybody else? Brittany, anything else?
No?
So not that, and it's a little bit different, but this is based on this RDA. There's a conservation flag on an outstanding permit for the stairs. Will that not be cleared until this work is done in spring?
I'd like to have the restoration plan showing the stairs, and then I can approve
You
the.
can think about that again.
And
Okay.
then I'll approve the building permit
So she
for the
has a-
stairway.
The steps needed, okay?
Okay. Getting plantings? The plan of the plantings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the planting plan.
Okay, the planting plan. The
And then the
restoration
other,
plan is
the
the
other, I
planting.
want to say obvious question,
Okay,
but I
that's
won't. There's about a 4-foot wide access to her platform and dock. Can we assume? that
Yes,
there's no plantings
obviously,
there? Okay.
you can remain your
Perfect, thank you.
pathway that exists.
Okay, so unless there's any further discussion among the board, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the enforcement order with the changes to deadline?
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded that? Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
You'll get a copy in your email and in the mail, probably after Thanksgiving.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll look for approved plantings. Maybe I'll put some stone.
All right, next order of business is another enforcement hearing for DJ and L Realty, Bill and Diane Delaney, 11 Windmill Lane, unpermitted patio in the buffer zone to a coastal bank, coastal beach, and land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Hi, I'm Bill Delaney.
Hi, Bill. I'm just going to give him a
We're going to
summary
hear from
of.
Brittany first, and then we'll,
And Ed, there's actually 2 things in there. There should be enough for most people. If you can pass them down. I forgot to pass them out. This.
I'll hand it down here. This stuff?
Yeah. So this is 11 Windmill Lane. Bill and Diane Delaney are the owners. They had wanted to put in a pergola and a patio and contacted us about the permitting required And the aerial images showed that an unpermitted patio was installed around 2020, and that's when the property had transferred ownership to them, so it was in place before they owned the house. But nevertheless, it was unpermitted, so they are looking at this patio here, and they have plans to put in another patio with a pergola closer to the house. So a draft enforcement order was issued before I knew about the pergola and patio plan to remove the unpermitted patio or seek permitting. It's a little less than 200 square feet, the one that's existing, and about 10 feet away from the top of Coastal Bank. And here,
Okay, questions from the board?
it's not the one.
Did you write an enforcement order for this, or
I did. The draft enforcement order,
it's on the front? Never mind.
oh yeah, everything's attached to that. It required the removal of the unpermitted patio and no plantings. But we would probably require an after-the-fact RDA if he wants this, a regular RDA for the new patio that he wants to put closer to the house, and still consider removal of the unpermitted one.
And what's the distance off that again?
The one that exists?
Well, I mean, if they're moving it closer to the house, what would the distance be? I mean, do they meet the 35 or?
It would be in line with the existing house.
Oh,
And it's a
okay.
little, yeah, it's about 40 feet from the top of Bank.
How many feet?
About 40.
I'm sorry, I was looking at things, so I may have missed something, but did you say that the rinsing station in one of these pictures is already there and he wants to move it, or?
No, so they want to put a patio with a pergola near the rinsing station. And so that's what caught my attention for this property, was because I saw that this patio was there, but it had been in place when they had gained ownership of the house already, but it had never been permitted.
So in essence, they would remove that patio and move it.
In theory.
Do the pergola, so that would be a notice of intent, right?
For,
To do that work.
Move it?
To do that permitting,
that would be up to the board.
right? Because we'd be looking for mitigation.
Yeah, since it's so close to the bank.
Okay, any questions from the board?
In this picture, it looks like it's staked already for,
Yeah, so they did stake the area for the new patio and pergola. And that's around here.
So the question now this is concerning an unpermitted patio. There was never any application or there was any attempt to permit this in any way, shape, or form by the owners?
That's correct, but it was the previous owner, so it was this patio here, and it was in place when they bought the house, but it was unpermitted.
Okay,
But
thank
they
you.
are hoping to get a new patio and pergola closer to the house.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? If not, would somebody, do you understand what we're asking you to do?
No.
So you need to get rid of the patio by the 1st of January, have it removed and restore the area.
Can I keep the existing one then if we get the pergola, the new one?
Can you say that again?
The purpose of the pergola was to have some shade. The whole area is all open. So I don't have to put a patio under the pergola, but I really don't want to get rid of the existing patio, because that's in the sun. So if it means not having the patio near the house, I'll just keep the one that I have that's already existing. Makes no sense to me to tear that one up.
So, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, but if you're asking, can you just put the pergola up next to the house?
Yes.
That would be would you do an RDA for that?
It's not really a structure if it doesn't have a roof.
Administrative review. Okay, so Brittany would just do that under an administrative review. Okay, that would be something that she does that in office.
Oh, okay.
If you put a patio back there, you would have to file a notice of intent with stamped plans and everything. But either way, you have to remove the patio by the 1st of January.
The existing patio that I already have?
That patio that's sitting way out in the middle of the yard,
I can't keep that patio?
Yeah, that's the one that
That's
was
why you're here.
unpermitted when you bought the house.
It's an unpermitted patio in a place that we would never have permitted it. So basically, that's why we're asking to remove it. It's too close to the water.
Well, if I remove it, is there any other material, I mean, the material's all porous, there's grass growing all around it. Is there anything else I can put there for furniture, if you want to sit out there? I just don't understand that. I mean, I don't understand the material's porous, grass is growing between the cracks, it's not sealed or anything.
You're talking about the current patio.
The current
and
patio,
You're
but it's
describing it. Essentially, you can't build anything within 35 feet of the, so that patio is totally within the 35 feet of the edge of the property onto the water, right?
Right.
And then we just don't allow that.
Even if it's up, it's up from the beach
35 feet,
parallel, or,
can you point to that?
well, it's 30 feet off do you count the,
The top of the coastal bank is the resource area, so it's the top of the revetment that you have there.
So it's even less.
So where my mouse is kind of is where the 35-foot buffer would end.
you don't count down the wall to the beach? That doesn't count for anything?
it's the
No, and it is.
most
yeah.
resource.
Unfortunately, a lot of buildings and houses in Yarmouth were built before the regulations were in place. So sometimes we have these interesting scenarios where there's nothing, there's no vegetative buffer within the 35-foot, but that is ultimately our goal, is to get the 35-foot to be undisturbed native vegetation. And so that's why we would never allow hardscape or structures within that area, so that we can work toward re-vegetating it. And so,
I don't have enough vegetation around that property. I have 2 lots there, one's not even built on. It's an unbuildable lot beside it. That's not enough vegetation around that.
I mean, we don't count lawn as native vegetation, but
The patio was unpermitted back whenever it was put in, right?
that's correct.
So therefore, it remains unpermitted today. It's basically illegal, okay? So you're the owner. This commission is saying, sorry, but you have to remove it because it shouldn't have been there in the first place,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
All right, so any further comments or questions from the board?
Now, what about the pergola then? If I can't do,
If you want to do the pergola and it's next to the house, then come and see Brittany and she can sign off on that as an in-office administrative review. If you want to put a patio back there, then you're going to have to have a filing before the Conservation Commission.
okay.
Okay? And either way, you must remove the patio by the January 1st deadline.
January 1st? Well, I need more time than that. That's ridiculous. 1 month?
April 1st.
Okay, all right.
I'm not going to argue.
We need to vote? Thank you.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the enforcement order with the change of removal date to April 1st?
Don't move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Who seconded it?
I did.
Jack?
Gotta be quicker.
I know. I thought it was quick enough.
Me too.
Can you hold off for a minute?
is there on the, that's what, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't ram these things off on my own.
Oh, okay.
That's what karma does to you.
Looks like it's, you did these pictures?
No, I
Oh.
did these running off the actual plan and stuff.
Our next order of business, another enforcement matter for Karen and David Swan, 1 Windermere Road. It's failure to remove patio and install native vegetation and dry wells in the riverfront area, buffer zones to coastal bank and salt marsh per a determination of applicability issued in 2008.
Yeah, so this one is kind of old, but as most of you know, 3 Windermere has recently been redeveloped next door, and they have, we met on site to discuss their buffer planting, and I looked next door, and they have a patio all the way up to the top of the coastal bank, which they were supposed to have removed in 2008 and planted with a regular vegetative buffer. So I don't have any phone or email contact for them, so I sent out a draft enforcement order hoping to discuss it here, but it does not look like they are here to represent. But the enforcement order requires compliance with the original DOA, removal of that section of the patio, and the wall. They have a wall up there as well, and submitting a planting plan for restoration of the buffer.
Oh, there's no representative whatsoever for this?
Does not appear so unless they are on Zoom.
Well, I'm inclined to start issuing a citation weekly until this happens then, but
Okay, weekly.
Do we know if they're year-round or anything about that?
That information is not in the assessor's database.
Do we know if it's the same homeowner?
It is the same homeowner. It's the same person who obtained the determination in 2008.
have you by any chance contacted Down Cape? Because they
No, but I can for their contact
might have a better way
info.
of getting a hold, or getting in touch.
It was so old that the section for email on the application was fax number. So,
Do you think that, are people using the house? Could you tell? Yes, okay. It's not like a family that, no,
I don't think so.
okay.
It's hard to tell, but it's just they have patio right up to the top of the coastal bank, and the neighbors feel like it's not fair that they're not being upheld to the same standard.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm just wondering how to get, whether they actually received your email or not.
No email, just regular mail.
Where is
Regular
the,
mail, okay.
where is the mail going to? What, is it a local one, local address?
No, it's in Walpole.
Well,
You send the mail, you send something like that, you send it like certified mail or?
It goes certified mail with return receipt.
Okay.
and it's coming back unclaimed, is that,
No, I haven't received anything back yet.
okay?
How long has it been?
I issued it on the 13th.
Say the 13th?
Issued on November 13th?
Yeah, it's been a week and a day.
All right, so I'm gonna, actually, I think what I'm gonna do is table this then.
See if they call.
Yeah,
I think we should
it-
give them till.
The other
next
two-
meeting.
I think I'm just gonna table this to December 5th,
Okay.
okay, just to give them a little bit more time to respond.
But actually, if it's returned receipt, then the post office returns that, the owner, the person receiving the mail doesn't. So I don't know if you want to look into that, because if I, you know.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
the other two were also not local, and they got the message in time, but I'm
Yeah, I
fine
think
with
it's just a
tabling it.
matter of, because,
It's short.
I mean, the way it works is that the post office makes 3 attempts to
Deliver.
deliver.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And sometimes it's, day after day after day, and other times they say, okay, well, I'll wait, and then
It could easily be somebody who's away.
or somebody could be away, so we'll
Yeah, I think that's,
give them a shot.
I
It's
We
fine.
need to make every effort to get that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll table that to December 5th.
All of the COC requests are in compliance and good to go.
Okay. All right, so we have request for certificate of compliance for SE 83-16186 Cape Isle Drive, SE 83-2401 55 Bayberry Road, and SE 83-2054 85 Uncle Roberts Road. All are easy okay. Do I have a motion to issue the certificates of compliance for SE 83-1618, SE 83-2401, and SE 83-2054?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Moving on to approval of minutes for November 7th, 2024.
Minutes were fine after Brittany made her additions.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion
I'll
to
move it.
approve it and then just issue and then second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Do we have any other business not reasonably anticipated? Actually, I see somebody standing out in the audience here. It's like, you're just sitting there and watching, or do you have any? Okay. All right.
We will have a new employee starting in the beginning of December. Woo! And I don't know, Paul, do you want to give a CPC update or?
Well, go ahead.
Okay. We had the CPC meeting on yesterday, and they voted to approve our request for the Chasebrook Park. They actually gave us a little more than we asked for contingency for the bridge construction. So they will send that recommendation to town meeting.
Okay, very good.
That's all I've got.
Anybody else?
That was 800, how much?
Yeah, for 820,000
Yeah,
Ooh, and what's this for again?
significant amount.
for the construction of the Chasebrook Park Ecological Restoration and Pedestrian Bridge Project.
No more hoops to go through?
Many.
Me,
Yeah, so we are currently waiting for our MIPA certificate, and then we can apply for our Chapter 91 license, and then we can do the Cape Cod Commission, and then we can go to bid.
remember, all that has to be approved at town meeting, the money allocation, everything, so.
Yeah.
That's all in time for this year's budget.
Yeah, so that would be voted on at town meeting in April,
In April.
at the end of April.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Very good, Brittany.
Brittany and I went over to the inn, the fire inn, where the fire was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just to check.
Yeah, so they're going to demolish the structure that was damaged, obviously, and they need to just put erosion controls in place. It's a very interesting property topographically. There's a really steep drop off where the building finishes right before the water, so they need to make sure they have some erosion controls in place before they continue. But that's all.
You see any prime rib or popovers left over from the old days?
Well, I'm not going to say.
That was the place to go years ago.
Yeah.
Did you look at the other place next to it?
We looked at the other houses down below.
The other house to the
There's one to the
west?
right.
Sorry, to the east?
Oh, the small structures, you mean?
Small structure.
Yeah, there's a pool and like 2 or 3 small structures. We couldn't get down that steep slope.
We could have got around, but we
Yeah.
chose not to.
I mean, because they're throwing stuff over the side now, at this point, is what it looks like, but
Throwing stuff over what side?
Fence?
like out the back deck and down to Hal's Mill.
from where the restaurant was?
It's far away
From
from,
the restaurant, from the next door, the house next door.
we didn't go over there.
Honest, we didn't look.
We'll get to it in turn.
Is part of that property in Barnstable, Ed?
Yeah, it's like half.
Yeah.
It's like half
So
the
you
building.
the Barnstable have to.
No, it's the arm of the half. That's why I'm pointing it out. It's like, if it were in the Barnstable half, I would be saying, I don't know.
Is it worth us going back?
I mean, it's nothing pressing, but it seems like every time I go by, it seems like there's just a little bit more stuff that getting thrown out, so.
It's a beautiful piece of property. I mean,
Yeah.
we went around to the other side, to the, where the road is, where that single lane bridge is, and
Yeah.
looked back, and it's just a gorgeous piece of property.
It's quite a view, from the dining room, absolutely.
Yeah, it was an institution, that's for sure. All right, anything else? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned at